So I'm renting out my rental house. Everything is going great. The tenants stay their first year and make it through their renewal. And then I get the phone call. Hey, we're buying a house. We're moving out. So I listed it on Zillow Rental Property Manager and I had it rented again in less than a week. I coordinated the move out date and the move in date and did not even lose one day of rent. Hey guys, Jeremy and Lily here. Thank you so much for the overwhelming support of the channel. And thank you for the 10,000 views on one of our recent videos. Please help us reach 1,000 subscribers by just clicking the subscribe button. It's completely free. Don't forget to smash the like button and leave a comment that says AirPods for a chance to win a pair of AirPod Pros that Lily's giving away to one of our first 1,000 subscribers. So I did a video on this house back in June when I found out the tenants were going to move out. So these tenants were in this house about a year and their annual renewal was coming up, and they called me and they said, hey, we want to work on trying to buy a house. What can we do? We don't want to sign up for another year, but we're not real sure when we're going to be able to buy a house and close. And so they asked me if I would do a 3-month extension with a higher rate, and I said yes. For whatever reason, their first house deal fell through and they ended up closing on the second house. I told them if they would like to work together to clean up the inside and outside of the house to have it show ready, that I could go ahead and start advertising it so that I could get another tenant lined up to minimize any rent that they would have to pay for the rest of their term. These tenants were very hesitant about doing that. They felt like that was inconvenient for them. They wouldn't let me come and look at it and inspect it to see what I might need to do to get it ready until after they had closed and then spent several weeks moving out. Once they moved out, I came and inspected it. I had to do a few repairs and a few things to get it ready to show. Meanwhile, the former tenant was on the hook for paying the rent, mowing the lawn, keeping the utilities on, and all those obligations in his lease. I think he regretted not taking me up on doing this ahead of time to save him some money. We had to patch some holes in some of the walls and paint a few walls where he had some things attached on the walls and their child marked all over the wall and put some sticky stuff all over one wall. They also didn't shampoo the carpet and said something like it wasn't their fault, the house had carpet, otherwise they would have mopped it. I let him know that new tenants would expect the carpet to be clean as it was when he moved in, as well as what's on the move out checklist. I had it professionally cleaned. Once I got the property in show ready condition, I simply logged into my Zillow Rental Property Manager and activated the property. As you can see, I had a total of 23 inquiries and I had 8 applications for this property. You can see 11 applications are for this as well as other properties. It's $9.95 a week to activate a listing in here, but even after you turn off the advertising, you can always log back in and look at previous applicants and previous inquiries, and you can contact those people if you have other properties come up without having to pay again. I also received other texts, calls, and emails from Yard Sign. My tenant base is paying for my houses in the mid-market. I've been a little more cautious with tenants. I've been a little more interested in finding people with a little better credit and higher quality tenants so I would be sure that they would pay my rent. Since the local courts are processing evictions and I've experienced how well my tenant base is paying for my houses in the mid-market, I've wanted to get back to finding more of what I'm looking for a long-term tenant. Some of the highest quality tenants that I've rented to recently with high credit scores and great paying jobs are able to buy houses and just rent your house for a short amount of time. Turnovers are what's very expensive. So if someone rents my house for less than a year, I'm making no money. Turnovers are also very time consuming. And so one of the things I wanted to do this time when I had this vacancy, what am I really looking for in a tenant this time? So I was looking for someone who would be a long-term tenant and maybe stay there for several years. So I passed over some folks with some really high credit scores. I chose a tenant who wanted their child to go to the elementary school that's nearby. And also one of the tenants is working on their credit score. They're very interested in buying this property from me if I will offer it as a lease option again in the future, or maybe I could do a lease purchase deal on another property. But the point is, they can't qualify for a mortgage right now, giving my property to buy a house like I've had about 2 or 3 people do within the last year. I'm basically looking for 3 things when people rent my properties. Someone who will pay on time, stay a while, and take great care of the property. The new lease for the new tenants didn't start until August the 31st. I like all my leases to renew in the moving season, which is spring and summer, and so I made the first term of this month only 11 months so that it renews on July 1st before school starts. So when they move out, I'll have an opportunity to rent this during the prime season. The previous tenant was on the hook to pay rent through July 31st, and so I lost 0 days of rent on this property. This also gave me a chance to increase the rental rate because rents have been skyrocketing in my local market. Oh, and I called their landlord, which I always do. They gave me an excellent reference and they said the magic word, we hate losing these tenants and we would love to have them back if it doesn't work out. I also like that they gave their landlord a 30-day notice. A lot of newbie landlords want the tenant to move in right away, but what you want is your tenants to give give you a 30-day notice so you can get it ready for the next tenant. And finding a tenant who follows those rules is important on the front end, because that's how they're going to treat you on the tail end most likely. So most landlords wait until the tenant moves out to schedule repairs. They have to turn on the utilities in their own name. That's painful, a little bit of cost, but they'll waste a whole month or two in that process before they even get started making repairs or advertising. I think one of the things that I do that helps me to be a lot more efficient is to get a jump start on that the second I know a property is going to be available. You can almost always get the outside of the property looking good, even if you have a hard time getting on the inside. And most of the time my tenants work with me to get the inside and the outside working in good shape, so it saves us both money. If they're trying to get out of their lease early, I'll simply tell them I'll quit charging them rent the second a new tenant steps in and starts paying rent, but I need them to get the outside and inside looking really nice. A lot of tenants can't get the outside looking as great as a landscaper can, and so if you'll ask them to do their best and then maybe send in your landscaper to do some really nice edging and put down some new mulch, you can try to split some of that cost with them, or ultimately if you have to pay for it yourself, I promise it's worth it in dividends. You'll have a lot fewer showings, you'll attract a higher quality tenant, and so if you got to pay a few $100 to get the outside looking great from a curb appeal perspective, completely worth it. Most landlords wouldn't spend $200 to $400 getting outside look good. Meanwhile, they would lose 2, 4, or 6 weeks rent. It would be more costly than that because no one rents it because it sits on the market. Oh, after I got this cleaned up, I also did a Zillow 3D video tour that they have in their app on your smartphone that works with an iPhone. It's ready the next time I have an opening. When I turn my ad on, people can actually do a 3D walkthrough like you do on Zillow Maps, and so that's kind of neat. So a few tips for you new and experienced landlords. When you're signing your lease with your tenants, tell them, hey, if something changes in your life and you need to move out for any reason, just contact me immediately and let's talk through it, and it'll save us both money. If you do need to move out early, help me to get it looking good inside out. Show it to a few people for me, and the second I get somebody else to pay rent for it, I'll let you off the hook for your rent payments. Also remind your tenants when they're moving out to not disconnect utilities, or they'll have to pay for the fee to turn them back on, as well as a $50 reconnect fee that you'll charge them for your time. Those things are in a checkout list that I email people as soon as they let me know that they're moving out, and I also send it to them another 2 or so weeks before moving out to remind them. As soon as you know the house is going to be available again, go ahead and update your Zillow site or your homepage with the new rental rate. You can research in Zillow what houses around yours are renting for. Really, you need to get photos the previous time so you can have them ready for the next time. I'm pretty disciplined about doing that. If a house is coming open and I know I don't have any good photos, or I've got a better camera now, the iPhone Pro versions have those 3 cameras. A wide angle lens is great for taking interior photos or videos. And so for the properties that I don't have updated photos with this better camera, I always spend a minute after I get the house ready again. I turn all the lights on, I go take some new photos. But get your photos and details ready in your advertisement so the second it's ready, you can pull the trigger and your ad will be out. Curb appeal. Edge everything, blow everything, clean everything. Anything that looks ugly from the street, super important. You only get one first impression. I don't care how great the inside is. If it's ugly outside, they're never going to come inside to look at it. And it truly is absolutely possible to not lose 1 day of rent on your turnovers. I think I've done that on my last 4 turnovers. I do it all the time. If someone's moving out on time, you can simply pay them $25 or $50. Your lease should have a clause that grants you the right to show the property once they give you a notice. But I like to take that a step further and have them do it for me to save me time. If they're trying to break their lease early, you don't have to pay them that because they're doing themselves a favor by trying to get it re-rented so they get out of paying the rent. It's illegal and unethical to charge the old tenant and the new tenant for the same time period. Let me know your hints and tips in the comments as well as any questions. If you'll hit the subscribe button, I'll give Lily a piece of turkey. Thank you. Don't forget to leave a comment that says AirPods or Lily to register to win a pair of Apple AirPod Pros. Oh, and although I am a licensed CPA and have 3 business degrees, I'm just a guy on YouTube with my dog, so be sure to contact your professionals before making any investment decisions. Leave a comment what you would like Lily to eat next time.